What's up, guys? Welcome to the TDSM podcast. In today's episode, we are interviewing Luna Vega from the Miss Luna Vega social media channels on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. She has over 500,000 in following and has been a pivotal icon in contributing to this Etsy community and really coaching sellers on how to hit their goals. I'm super excited. She has a super inspirational story. She is much like me, a serial entrepreneur. We both come from like the agency, digital marketing background before we even found Etsy. So I really resonate with her story and I'm excited for you guys to hear it. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. All right, and welcome, Luna, to the TDSM podcast today.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here.
I love your little setup. It's way better than my fake setup, my fake Miami setup.
I put a lot of effort for you.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, I'm super excited you're here. You are a 7-figure e-commerce seller. You have years under your belt. You have over 1,000 case study students underneath you. You're a wealth of knowledge, and I'm just really excited to hear about your story, how you got into all this, and how you got to where you are today.
So I love how Etsy is able to provide beginners, folks who've never sold anything online, opportunities. And that's personally why I love teaching it, as somebody who tried all the side hustles that you can think of. Because I mean, my goal was to make sure that I never had to go back to a corporate job. And the way I stumbled upon Etsy is actually funny. Like, I actually started drop shipping at first, and then realized that that was such a headache to deal with Chinese suppliers. Then I started print on demand. And actually, I did what I was supposed to do. I built an entire brand around print on demand. I actually built my first print on demand. That was like 2017, when the crypto craze was like at the early days of crypto. And I had friends in the e-com space. All they did was talk about Bitcoins and Ethereum, So I was like, I need to do a crypto t-shirt brand. And especially because in the trend, it was like, going up. So I started with that. I did make some sales. I even was running Facebook ads, but then Facebook banned my ads because they were crypto related, even though it was apparel. And so then I went into sort of like a rabbit hole of creating a brand. I was doing a podcast, interviewing people in the crypto space. Like, I was really active. And I realized I was like putting all this time and energy, but actually I never had proven my product. And I didn't really know my audience. Because think about it. If you have cryptos in your bank account, are you going to wear a crypto t-shirt? Chances are no, right? Like, you don't want people to like kidnap you, because that's another thing I've learned, like going to all these like crypto bro conferences. First of all, I ended up hating the industry. I mean, that's a strong word, but yeah, I just did not like really vibe with that industry. Like, the women were so cool, but the men like so douchey. But second too, I realized like people get kidnapped for having Bitcoins, so they probably don't want to wear a shirt. I was like saying like, hey, I've got Bitcoin in my bank account, right? So talk about the ultimate failure. I did everything that I was supposed to from the textbook, and following advice that I was just, consuming online, and realized I spent all this money, went into debt. I did it completely wrong. So then actually, fast forward, I was at a conference in Barcelona, like an e-commerce conference, and I met Eric from Shine On, who was doing print-on-demand jewelry. And I was also frustrated with like margins with t-shirts because I was running ads. So obviously I needed more margins. And Eric's like, hey, well, what about jewelry? Like, the profit margins are much bigger. Like, base cost is about $13 and you can sell it for $39, $40 because it's like a message card. And back then, on Etsy, it was allowed. Now it's no longer part of like the handmade policy. But anyway, so at first I did Facebook ads and I created a Shopify store. I had like my first product that did really well during Father's Day, but then I was not able to replicate it. So whatever money I had made, with Facebook, like I kept on like testing, burning. And then came October, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so much harder than I had anticipated, right? And I mean, again, I'm somebody who's a marketer. Like I've been doing this for a while. Like this was not my first rodeo. Like I'm somebody who like had like been through the school of digital marketing. So needless to say, October comes and, I'm inside the Shine On group and people are like, oh, Etsy. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go on Etsy because like, something's got to give. And so I went on Etsy. I mean, mind you, I already had 300 plus listings because I had been actively uploading. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to upload things. And then, I was just like, okay, like kind of crickets, but then I'm like starting to get views and things are starting to take traction. I was like, oh, wow. And for me, the beauty is that I didn't have to spend money in advertising and I wasn't spending money in advertising, and even though, there's like the offsite ads and whatnot, like when people get retargeted, but like I was not spending money on ads because I was like, no, this is going to be organic traffic. So I started diving in, and within my first 30 days, I made like my first $10,000 on Etsy. Because obviously like it was like the perfect storm. It was like the beginning of Q4. So like I literally like rode the wave early on. And then as well, like then I started like, changing things around and learning along the way. And like my first year, I made like 6 figures on Etsy. And then the rest is history, like, as of today, like I'm a 7-figure seller on ecom, and 70% of my income comes from Etsy. But yeah, so for me, it's been interesting because, I've realized that Etsy is like very, very beginner friendly because it's almost like you have a store in a very busy mall. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like helped me as well. And then it's funny, like, when was it that I decided to go on TikTok? Honestly, I went on TikTok because as much as I love selling on Etsy, I was like super lonely. Just like me and my computer. Okay. Yeah, and like when you're like getting sales, like who are you gonna tell? I was just like, okay, cool, this is cool, but like I'm kind of bored.
Yeah.
So I went on TikTok and I started like sharing my journey. And this was like the early days when like nobody was talking about Etsy. And I told people like, oh yeah, like this is how much I made like during, I think it was like Christmas, and I shared my income. And my video went viral. And also people didn't know you could sell Shine On at the time. And you could sell jewelry because people think print on demand. They only think t-shirts. And yeah, one thing led to the other. And then people were like, can you teach me? And I was like, okay, sure. So yeah, it's been like a whirlwind. Like, it's like Etsy launch padded my online business journey, even though I had been at it for many years. It's just kind of helped me like be where I am today.
That's really interesting. That's actually kind of a very similar story as me. I was like very heavy into like same thing, like going to funnel hacking live, digital marketing world, media buying world, Shopify world before, and just 2 years of same situation, school of hard knocks, just like doing a bunch of different things, but not really seeing any real results. And then, yeah, Etsy, same thing. Etsy was the same like, wow, okay, like this is real. Like this can be real. I didn't know what print on demand was in the beginning, but I wish I did. And so Shine On, for everyone listening, Shine On was like print on demand, but it's a jewelry print on demand, but it was banned from Etsy, but now is it back on Etsy now?
Yeah, so now Shine On opened up their repertoire, so they're not just doing jewelry. So they started out with like, it was like jewelry, and then you had a message card which you could personalize. And to be honest, like for Etsy to be it's not handmade, okay, no comments, but whatever. So yeah, like those jewelry you cannot, it's not part of the handmade policy because like technically like the jewelry like you can from China, or like, or it's not from China, but like buy anywhere and then you just like slap on the message card. So they like consider it drop shipping, but there's a bunch of other products that are personalized that you can still sell.
Okay.
And I started with Shine On, and what I liked about Shine On is that they're based in Florida. They're actually like really fast at shipping items. Now they have like blankets. Yeah, they have like so many different products now. They've like opened up. So you are just not just selling jewelry. But that's kind of how I started, right? Because like back in the day, like there weren't just as many products you could sell with POD.
Yeah.
So now what is like your main focus? What type of products do you see working really well now?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm selling a bunch of different products. That's the other thing. Like, I don't believe in having like a specific store. My whole spiel is like have a generic store, especially at the beginning where you don't know what's going to work for you because again, like people think they have an idea and they like, oh, this niche, like people are really into yoga, let me only sell yoga products. But then when you go on Etsy, you come to realize like actually that doesn't work on Etsy particularly well, right? So you're better off like using Etsy as like a testing ground and seeing what's going to work for you. So now like I sell a bunch of different stuff. Like, I mean, I sell blankets, I sell candles, I sell travel mugs, like the ones that have like the handle, like the new ones that everybody loves. I sell Outprint, which is another jewelry supplier based in the Netherlands where it's like engraved. So you can like laser engrave your pet or your family member, etc. So that does really well. Yeah, so that's pretty much the gamut of what I sell. And I also tell people like always been on the lookout for like new suppliers and new products because there's always opportunities and like that could be kind of like the low-hanging fruit when you're starting out, like I've told students to like sell mouse pads. So that's kind of what differentiates me from like other Etsy folks out there, is that I always recommend people to like especially as a beginner, like competing in apparel is going to be super hard for you when you've never done apparel because you're competing with like super seasoned Etsy sellers. But like mouse pads, like not as many sellers are looking at that because like the there's not as much revenue potential. But like if you're a newbie, like all you need is the confidence to know that you're going to sell stuff,
Yeah, yeah. With like moving in, I guess, we're obviously in 2025 already.
Yeah.
And in the future, like where do you feel like the whole POD industry is going? I mean, my personal opinion is like it's kind of like there's just more print houses popping up everywhere. Like there's more printifies popping up every day that I just feel like we're almost in the infancy of it. Or would you think otherwise? Or how do you feel about it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's so funny because when I started, you only had access to like a limited amount of products. And now every time I go on Printify, I'm just like, oh my God, they have that too. It's just like there's more and more products that are available for us. Which is amazing, but it can also be super overwhelming for new sellers because like, oh my God, where do I start? But absolutely, like print on demand is only going to continue growing because we're moving into an economy where people are way more conscious about inventory, right? And not wanting to put money up front, and especially when you are building a brand, you always want to be testing. I mean, 7 to 8 figure Etsy sellers, Shopify seller, ecom sellers, like they are always testing.
Yeah.
And so when they're testing, usually like they'll do print on demand or they'll do like small runs of drop shipping to see whether or not it's going to work for them. And then only when it's proven, then they invest more money and they like scale from there. But so POD, as much as people love to hate on it because they're like, oh, the profit margins aren't as great. I'm like, yeah, but the thing is, like, you have to understand that you're not putting your own money up front, So instead of like being upset about the profit margins, like you have to look at it differently. You have to understand that you're proving a concept, and through proving that concept, you're actually also making money through the process, and then you're building an email list. And then it's up to you to figure out what you want to do with that, like, so you can continue on Etsy and continue scaling on Etsy.
Yeah.
You can start doing like t-shirts in house, if like apparel's taking off for you, which I know a lot of sellers, that's what they end up doing, right? When they're like, oh, okay, actually this is working out for us. Like, let's invest in a machine and all that. Or you can go the route of, continuing your journey by opening up like on Amazon, Walmart, selling on TikTok Shop. So like the sky's the limit, right? So like Etsy allows you a launch pad essentially of like testing at a fraction of the cost, right? Because the fees to start an Etsy store are much cheaper than a Shopify store, right? Like 20 cents a listings. I mean, $15, I think, for setup fee. I think that went up now. But I mean, so it's less than $100 to get started versus Shopify. It's like $30 a month. Then you need like all these other tools, yada, yada. I mean, with Etsy too, you need tools, but like, I mean, like it's very, very beginner friendly. And so the beauty of that is that it allows you time to understand how to sell online, which is actually much harder than you've been told. And that's something that I learned the hard way. I was like, oh my God, like I never thought it'd be this hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that actually is I have a good question that you just brought to my mind is, when you tell people that, because I get that a lot, it's like, I want to open up a Shopify store. I want to get into e-commerce. I'm going to open up my Etsy and my Shopify store. And they want to do everything at the same time. And I personally tell them, don't even look at Shopify unless you are mentally prepared to be a content creator where you are going to just like half your day is spent making content on behalf of your products. I don't know what type of advice you give around that.
Yeah. So, or becoming a marketer, right? Because you need to know how to run ads. So that's the thing. That's why I teach like Etsy as a launchpad, because like with Etsy, all you have to be good at is creating what I like to call an irresistible listing, right?
Mm-hmm.
A listing that people just can't wait to buy. And that's the thing, like as somebody who's done entrepreneurship for a really long time, for anything, even like folks who are trying to be content creator, the problem is you're trying to do it all from day one. And when you try to do it all from day one, you're all over the place and you end up giving up because you feel overwhelmed, right? Versus with Etsy, like the only thing you have to worry about is how to create a sexy listing, like something that people are going to want to buy, right? Like take all the other headaches away, because then you get really good at that one skill set. And once you've done that, then yeah, you can look at other avenues, like whether it's continuing to scale your Etsy shop, which that's an option. There's plenty of people who are really successful at that. But yeah, like Shopify, exactly. You need to learn how to bring traffic through social. So, I mean, doing social organically is also an acquired skill set. It's not something that happened overnight. And then also knowing how to do Facebook ads, but then not just that, email marketing, SMS marketing, landing page optimization. So, you go from just like knowing one skill set to having to be like a digital marketing agency, which is good because like I learned a lot, like because I started the Shopify route, like I learned a lot. But let me tell you, I went through hell and back. So I feel like Etsy's like, as much as people love to complain, they're like, oh, just can't get it. And majority of the time, it's really simple. Look at your listing. Like, look at your listing. Who would buy this from you? Like, I mean, I hate to be that jerk, but like a majority of the time when people are like, look at my listing, and I look at their listing and I'm just like, okay, like take a pause. Like with Target, sell this. No.
The brutal honesty. Yeah. So, and I think you just said it, you've nailed on the head there. It's like Etsy, the skill set is nailing a good listing. Shopify, you have to learn how to be a copywriter. You need to learn how to build a website. You need to learn how to do ads. You need to learn how to make content, like so many different skills. Etsy, it's like image listing. That's it. It's two things.
Yeah. And also like it can be a great way for you to like test an idea without building a website. So you can even do like digital products, I've had some of my students do that, where they are an expert in a specific niche and they test out those specific products on Etsy. I can't say what because like I don't want to reveal their niche, right? But they like start posting it and it's like a simple PDF. They start getting traction and I'm like, amazing. Well, now leverage that, like use that as a lead capture, right? Where you're like grabbing the email of these customers and you have them enter a funnel where essentially like it's like a sales funnel where you upsell them outside of Etsy, right? So that's the other thing like people don't realize, like Etsy is a great tool to test things out without building out a website and just like create a lead capture opportunity. It's pretty much, I mean, free traffic if you don't do ads, it's pretty much free traffic.
Right. And one thing that worked for us really well is like because we do Shopify and Etsy. like our top sellers on Etsy always perform well with ads. So it's like we would pull the data from our Etsy account, and then we would take those and put those into our meta ads. And it just always worked every time. So it's just like, yeah, like you said, just the easiest and cheapest way to collect data on what products are going to end up working, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, like you nailed it, and that's what I tell like my top sellers inside my community. It's like, once you have a product that's doing well, chances are it's going to do well if you put it in other platforms.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people like actively use TikTok. Now, I know we don't know what's going to happen with TikTok, yada, yada, but like I've seen Etsy sellers like be really profitable, driving traffic directly to their Etsy store, through TikTok by simply having super easy TikToks. But now, like, they were like doing fun stuff with their apparel, or their digital products, like stuff that people actually wanted.
Right.
So that's why, like, at the end of the day, the foundation is, what do people want and how do you put that in front of customers?
Right. And you have an amazing case studies under your belt, and amazing free content on, I mean, your primary channel is Instagram and TikTok, but you also have a channel, which, by the way, guys, we'll have all that linked below. But yeah, this has been super cool, super insightful. Yeah, I definitely I think we're going to be here to stay. I mean, I think if you believe in consumerism, like, consumerism isn't dying anytime soon. And so if you want to learn, like you said, like learn a platform, learn how to build a foundation for, it's like, I call it Etsy's like business for beginners. It's like a good starting ground that segues into
exactly
so many different other things, so many different other
exactly
a launchpad, called a launchpad. But guys, check out Luna. Her links are going to be in the description. She has a course, she has a mentorship program, and her case studies speak for themselves. So make sure you guys check those links out. And before we jump off here, Luna, what is one thing that you are never going to stop striving for until death stops you?
Making sure everybody gets out of the matrix.
That's
my goal in life. So matrix for me is like code word for corporate America.
Okay. I like that.
As somebody who worked in New York in the advertising industry, worked my ass off. I was like, I don't want anyone to ever go through that. I mean, granted, it helps us pay the bill, but there's just something so sweet about being your own boss. It's not easy, guys. It's not easy, but it's so worth it. So yeah, like that's my goal in life, to help everyone work for themselves.
That's great. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Luna. And I'm sure we'll see you on here again before the year's over. All right.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.